All right, welcome back. And now we're going to talk about multiplicative inverses. Okay, so just like with real numbers, when we talk about the inverse, the multiplicative inverse of the number, so if we take the number, a real number n, how do we define the multiplicative inverse of a real number? Well, it's the number that when we multiply, m, right? So if we take n times m, and that equals 1, remember this is the identity, the multiplicative identity, right, under multiplication of real numbers. So if these these would be multiplicative inverses of each other. So if I am given a real number n, and I take another number m, and multiply these together, and I get 1, then the multiplicative inverse is unique, and there's only one, and so in this case here it'd be 1 over n, right? So 1 over n is the multiplicative inverse for n, right? And so we define the multiplicative inverse for real numbers as the reciprocal, right, of the given number. Okay, so if we take the idea of a multiplicative inverse to matrices, the same idea occurs. Now, obviously, it's going to be much different than this, but the same idea holds, right? So we want what? So here's the definition, right? So if we let A be a square matrix, n by n, right? So remember, an n by n matrix is square. So if we have A as a square matrix, and let I sub n be the identity matrix of the order n as well. So it's also a square matrix. Well, identity matrices are always square. But notice that the dimensions are the same, right? So the order is the same. Okay. If there exists an n by n matrix, if there exists a square matrix A inverse, this is how we read it, A inverse, such that when we multiply these together, A times A inverse, we get the identity. And when we multiply it the other way, A inverse times A, we also get the identity. If that's true, if that happens, then A inverse is called the multiplicative inverse of A. Okay? So again, remember the identity is the identity, right? So it works very similar to the number 1. Right? Okay, so that is how we define the multiplicative inverse and how we also show a matrix, a given matrix, is the inverse of another. So let's go do some examples and go forward.